Are we living? I hope so. Alright. I hope y'all can hear that. Or hear me. In a good manner. Alright. This is weird though, because I can't remember the last time I've done a face cam. I did it a couple times on stream, but I haven't done it on the YouTube, but we hit 200 subs, so figured I'd go ahead and show you guys my beautiful face, my beautiful chins. You know, I'm looking fresh right now. New clothes on. Unfortunately, I couldn't get my new shirt, which is faded fucking brown with these like weird ass buttons. But it's all good. Got new swag on, and as you can tell, we got the Life of Pablo review on here. Came prepared, brought my notes and shit. Wrote some notes up. We're gonna get detailed. We're gonna sit down. Also, since we're doing it Annie Fantani style right here, got the vinyl on deck in the little corner. Shoutouts to D'Angelo Black Messiah. It's a little glossy, but I think that's just because I'm too lazy to fix the webcam settings. Also, my hair's all wet because I just got out the shower. But yeah, fantastic album. I don't know if it won any Grammys, but it should have won some Grammys. Also, if you ever see Fantano in public or you want to holler at him at Twitter, drop him a big fuck you from me, because I don't know if you can see this, but the corner of this shit right here is all bent. Like, you can see the back, the back part on this thing is damaged because Fantano fucking sent this to me through the postal service. If any of you have ever used the postal service, you know that it's by far the worst government program that we have. Fucking garbage. There's a story that one of my friends got a postcard from FSU, and literally all that was there was just 1/3 of the postcard. Everything else, that's all I got, was just 1/3 of the postcard. And that's just the postal service for you. It's absolutely terrible. So tell Fantano, stop using the postal service. You ruined this fantastic record right here. Oh no, my headphones. Goddamn. I got too much shit, dude. Like, fuck. Hopefully that stays there. Got this generic little thing there that I'm holding it up with in my textbooks. Not generic, shit, I can't think of the word. But I got my notes. Got D'Angelo over here with me. And we're gonna go ahead and get right into it. So, Life of Pablo. Definitely an interesting album. I'm scratching myself a bunch because I've never been on camera before. This is what I usually do when I'm talking. But now I'm on camera, so now you all know that I'm fucking nasty as shit. But this was quite the record that I was looking for. Like, I was looking forward to, because Kanye, for the most part, has stayed off of... My head's not straight. I think that's the camera more than anything, but it literally looks like here's my neck, and then my head grew in like that. Or, no, it's reverse, so growing like that, it looks really weird. It doesn't help that I'm fat as shit, and I got this neck fupa, so... Yeah, but I was looking forward to this record. Like I said, Kanye had stayed off the Twitter drama, and the records that we got ahead of time, we got... I think the first one that dropped was Fade, which was alright. Can't say I care for the record one way or another. It's a nice little bop tune. I bump it in the whip, but it's not really a fantastic record, and I still don't know why Post Malone's on there. Dude's garbage. And I think it was just to capitalize off of his 15 seconds of fame. But I think the whole point of the track was just to do it for the fashion show that it was at. It wasn't really supposed to be an album track. That's why I threw in the bonus tracks. Oh, and then I think we got Wolves after that too, if I remember correctly. Can't say I care for that track. It's just... It sounds like a Yeezus reject, and about half of Yeezus sounds like a Yeezus reject, so... Can't say I really care for that. Then we got Real Friends, and this track, it sounds like it might be one of Kanye's top 10 best tunes. Like, he just gets super personal, which is where I think Kanye's at his best. The beat is fantastic. It sounds like he took the sound from 808s and Graduation and fused them together into this really fantastic beat. Really liked Real Friends. Initially, I wasn't a big fan of Ty Dolla $ign's feature, but I think that had more to do with the mixing that came out on SoundCloud than what we actually got. And the final product, I'll talk about it a little bit later because I'm going to talk about all the songs, but I think the mixing on that was a lot better. That's one of the few tracks I thought was actually mixed really well on the final product. Just surprising because the SoundCloud mixing was just awful. Then No More Parties in LA. Same thing. I didn't actually like that track at first, just because the mixing was just really muddy, and then Kendrick, like the little clip that we got at the end, it sounded like Kendrick was about to go in, but Kendrick actually, like Kendrick stuck up the joint, dude. But Kanye came through, and then the song has grown on me, and then of course you look up the lyrics a little bit, and then you see what's really going on. Kendrick's verse isn't quite that bad. Well, I'm knocked over D'Angelo over there, but we did all right. And I think right before the Saturday or the Sunday, it's kind of both because he put it out after Saturday Night Live. He put out 30 hours, I think, that Friday before is like the last little Good Friday. That track was all right. The sample was really nice. It was really well done. But the part at the middle where Kanye just goes insane. He's just insane, dude. But yeah, I'd say overall the track, like the singles that we got leading up to the album, were really nice. And then we were looking forward to it. And then Kanye decided for whatever reason to hop back on Twitter. I don't know who let him back on his Twitter account, but between him just being insane on Twitter and what we've gotten for what we've gotten as far as like the name changes and everything that's led up to it, and the album being pushed back and everything. It's I don't know if he does this on purpose, but it's definitely built up quite a bit of hype for the album. It's definitely something that I've looked forward to as a Kanye West fan. I just realized that you can see my messy ass bed. Actually, no, I think D'Angelo kind of blocks it a little bit. So you can't see my unmade bed. But shout out to D'Angelo. But all that has really built hype for the album. And unfortunately, I can't say that the album has really lived up to the hype. So we're going to go through the tracks here, sort of one by one. Ultralight beams. I can't read my handwriting. I thought that said ultralight leams. Goddamn. Alright, but I almost knocked D'Angelo over again. This track was fucking fantastic. Like, it's just this really minimalistic beat over top these gospel vocals. The Dream was there. He did his nice job. I don't know who the female vocalist was. I think the lady that was on the Saturday Night Live version, I think her name was Kelly Parker or something. I don't know if that's the same person who did the female vocals on here. But they were fantastic. Kirk Franklin comes in for a little bit. He does a nice little job right there, tying it back to the Christian element. Chance comes in here and he fucking kills it. Like, I remember watching the Saturday Night Live version. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, because I know Chance is supposed to be on the album. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, you know what? I think this would be this would be a real good song for Chance to pop up on. And then 10 seconds later, I see him pop on stage and I'm just like, goddamn. But Chance comes in and he fucking kills this joint. Like, there's just a really fantastic song. This is one of Kanye's best songs that he's ever done. And that's really what this album is. There's a lot of steep contrast in this album. Not just as far as the song style, the song structure, the aesthetic of the songs, but also just the quality of them. Like, this album features some of Kanye's best work, but it also features some of his worst work. The only two things I didn't like about this song was, number one, like, it sounded exactly like a Social Experiment song. And this is something that I'll talk about a little bit more at the end, and I'll mention it more on some other songs. But one of the things that really turned me off about this album was the fact that, for the most part, this doesn't sound like an album that I would get from Kanye. This sounds like a bunch of artist songs that he was working with, and then he was just the featured artist right there. And it just really seems it just seems like he was chilling in the studio with them, and then he's just like, "Ooh, that's a nice song. I haven't put out an album in a while. Let me take that song real quick." That's just what it seems like to me. And then number two is that the energy, the song, the intensity, the passion, like, everything about this song just sets the bar way up here. We're at Mount Everest right here. That means one of two things can happen. Number one, we're either going to be so high up that we're going to be on some My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy shit, and we're just going to keep going. We're just going to keep going. And then this album will go down as a masterpiece at College Dropout level, at My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy level, even at 808's level, even though 808's is good for a different reason. But I consider that just as good as those two albums, but that's just me. Or number two is that we're going to start up here, and then just going to nosedive. We're just gonna nosedive down into the abyss. And unfortunately, the latter happens. Which takes us to track number 2, which is Father Stretch My Hands, part 1. Another one of my pet peeves throughout the album is that just the mixing, most of the album is just really spotty. It's just really amateurish. This track, Father Stretch My Hands Part 1 in waves, and then Father Stretch My Hands Part 2, that's not as bad. Those are the 3 main tracks where the mixing was just really, like, a 15-year-old kid who toured at Ableton and has messed around in Ableton for like 6 months could have mixed the songs better. And like Father Stretch My Hands Part 1 and I think Part 2 too were both Metro Boomin tracks, so it's like like you could say whatever you want about Metro Boomin as far as like his music being generic and all that, and that's whatever, that's just your opinion. But he is a really good engineer, so it's just really surprising to see the mixing on this song, especially considering that it's a Metro Boomin song, just be that bad. Like, you can't even hear Kid Cudi's hook, which was alright, like, half the time, because you just hear, like, who in the right mind thought that mixing was good? And then, of course, there's the asshole line, which just makes me want to cover my face and say, why am I following you on Twitter, dude? Why am I buying your music? Like, oh, but the hook was alright, and then the beginning had me, he tricked me. The beginning little sample, the little intro part, had me thinking that this was going to be something nice, but he tricked me, and then we found out that if a model bleaches her asshole, and you get bleach on your t-shirt, does that make you an asshole? Who knows? It's a deep philosophical question that Kanye's asking us. Then we get to Father Stretch My Hands Part 2. This track was a little bit better. I thought that the mixing, while it was still spotty, it was definitely better. A little bridge was nice. And then Kanye's little bit there was also pretty nice. And then we get this dude named Designer. I thought Future was supposed to be on the album as a feature. So I thought, I hear this, I hear Future, and I'm just like, ooh, Future, he's doing alright. But that's not even Future, it's just this random-ass kid named Designer. And it wasn't necessarily a bad feature on there, but I just can't, like, especially because Kanye, like, his big thing overall is originality. Like, really, with the exception of Late Registration, you can always say that he's brought something new to the table. Whether or not it's gone over well or not, that's up to your opinion, but he always brings something new to the table, at least for him. And outside of the fact that this album just sounds like outside of the album, like the fact that you're gonna waste your money, which apparently isn't that plentiful, on bringing this dude into your company that sounds exactly like Future, like, just makes no sense to me. It's just super hypocritical, in my opinion. But overall, I thought it was alright. Wasn't an amazing track. Again, it still kind of sounds like a Metro Boomin track, but it wasn't as bad as Father Stretch My Hands Part 1. But fortunately, like I said, we started way up here. Nope, we're starting to nosedive a little bit. Then we get to Famous. Sounds like a generic Rihanna joint, to be completely honest. Like, I'm not a big fan of Rihanna's because I think her voice sounds really run-of-the-mill. Her music is typically kind of run-of-the-mill, just trying to appeal to the lowest common denominator, trying to appeal to as many people as possible. Which is why I actually like the Bitch Better Have My Money single. Because even though it was generic as fuck, it at least sounded like something that she wanted to make. It just wasn't something that was trying to sell records. And there's a little catchy to it. It bumps in the whip. But Rihanna just comes in here. She actually does alright, but like I said, I think that her voice just doesn't stand out at all. And this track doesn't really stand out at all. Like I said, it's just really skippable. Like, pretty much anybody from 2008 onward could have made this song, and it would have been no different. The only thing that makes it stand out is the Taylor Swift line, obviously, which in my opinion isn't that misogynistic. Like, it's definitely misogynistic, but considering the fact that they're supposed to be buddies now, at least until this line came out, it could definitely be as like just a little joke or a little jab or something. Especially considering that supposedly T-Swizzle is a semi-frequent browser of /B. Like, If that's what your misogyny level is, and in your free time you sit there and you scroll through slash B, like, come on, come on. The only thing that I could really see that would be super offensive was that Kanye's essentially taking credit for her work, which, in a sense, you can say is misogynistic, but I don't know, dude. I just didn't think it was that bad. Like, I don't think as many people would have reacted as negatively to it as they did if Taylor wasn't that offended by it. Which, again, I don't think that it was that offensive. It's just that she got offended, so now everyone else is offended to try and defend her. But at the same time, I still think he should apologize and shit, because it's definitely, like, offensive. And I think she has a right to be offended. But that's besides the point. Twitter drama aside, I didn't think Famous was a good track. We go to feedback, though, and now we're back. I don't know what to get... Like, now we're back. Like, we've nosedived real quick. Now feedback, we're not quite at that peak, but we're on the way up. My nose is itchy, dude. It looks like I'm picking my nose, and I look disgusting. That's besides the point, so... We're on feedback. I don't know what the sample is for this track. I'm too lazy to go look up the credits, so someone can go tell me in the comment section or something. But this sample was just real nice. It was just catchy. It was like, I don't know, it was just catchy, then the melody on the hook, and then the hook itself was nice. A play on the Wake Up Mr. West thing from Late Registration. I think he does it on Graduation too and on College Dropout, but Late Registration is really the main thing that comes to mind, because I think that's the opening skit on there is Make Up Mr. West. And here's just a catchy little track. It's not it's not a legendary Kanye track by any means, but it's definitely a nice little track on the album. Gives the album some nice momentum. And I'm thinking, all right, we had a little bump in the road, but this is a nice momentum track. Like, it's catchy, it's energetic. It'll give us some nice momentum for the rest of the album. Fortunately, like most of the album, whenever we got some positive momentum going, just dips off, and we get back to the negative momentum. And that's where Low Lights comes in. I don't know why this track is on here, to be completely honest. Like, you could say it's inspirational and all that shit. And I guess to certain people it is. But it just doesn't have any point on here. Like, it just seems like Kanye's sitting there like, this sounds nice. People think that this is inspirational. I'm speaking to the people. So we're just going to throw it on there for no reason, even though it contributes nothing to the central idea, which doesn't exist on this album. It's just a collection of songs, which for the most part sound like other artists' songs, but the people will love it. That's what it sounds like to me. So I don't know why this track is on here. And then Highlights, it just sounds like a generic pop R&B tune, just really almost aggravating about how middle of the road this track is. And then Young Thug comes on here, and it's almost really kind of ironic in a sense, because this track sounds extremely middle of the road, but one thing that people can say about Young Thug is that his style is far from middle of the road. He has a really eccentric style, both on and off music. But this is just the middle of the road style. I don't think he dropped a bad feature. It's just that, like, this Young Thug is an artist that I feel like needs a solid base of music to come in and then just do his thing, and then really take the music and make it something completely different. But he needs something solid there to work with first. And this track didn't give him anything solid, and he just did his thing, but it didn't turn out too well because it wasn't solid. And then, of course, there's another cringeworthy line in here about the GoPro line. Like, I'm gonna go back to Father Stretch My Hands Part 1 a little bit about the asshole line. Like, Father Stretch My Hands Part 1 could probably be the worst Kanye track, like the worst song on any other of Kanye's albums. Even Yeezus, which had a lot of really bad tracks. Or you can even say College Dropout also had a fair amount of bad tracks, even though most of those are just like unnecessary skits. But Father Stretch My Hands could easily have been one of the worst tracks on there, but there's quite a few bad tracks on here that don't even make Father Stretch My Hands the worst track on this album. That's how bad the bad songs are on here. And Highlights was one of them. We're going to get to another one in a little bit. It's Not Freestyle 4, which is the next song on here. I actually enjoyed that track. It was a nice little banger beat. Young Thug comes on here with an intro. I thought Kanye's verse Well, it wasn't good. It wasn't lyrical. It was catchy. Had a nice little melody. It sort of meshed well with the beat. Get you hype. And then we got Designer on here again. Um, like, you can just say that his voice sounds similar to Future on Father Stretch My Hands Part 2, but on here he literally sounds exactly like Future, and I thought that Future was supposed to be on the album. So I literally thought that this was Future. Like, when I heard Father Stretch My Hands Part 2, I'm thinking, whoa, is Future off the lean or something? I can understand him a little bit better. You know, his voice isn't quite that raspy. That's someone else, I'm like, alright, Future's not getting off the lean anytime soon. And then we get this. He literally sounds exactly like Future. I just can't get over how you're gonna spend your money on this dude. And supposedly Future co-wrote Kanye's part on here too. Like, you're literally in here in the studio writing this dude's verse. Just, Kanye, just get him on a song. Fuck this Designer dude. Just get Oh my god, I'm messing up my words. You got me mad out here. Just get Future on the talk. I'm not even a Future fan, but I can at least respect that the dude has his little niche. Has his little original sound. And then you're just gonna get basically a Future knockoff on here. It just kind of bothers me. But I thought overall the track was nice. Like I said, I don't think the dude was that bad. I just think that he just isn't original. Like, he's blatantly ripping off Future, and then a lot of that Atlanta sound, which he's from Brooklyn, which makes no sense to me. Why would he be ripping off that Atlanta sound? But I guess it's a different age, even though I'm the same age as him. But it's whatever. I can't get over how fucking fat my neck is. I didn't know that my neck was this fat. Like, what the fuck, dude? But yeah. Well, the main thing that I wished for with that track was that it was a little bit longer. It was just really cut short and abrasive, which I guess you can argue sort of fits into the central theme of that. It just bothered me. Like, I felt like you could have done something good with Young Thug on here instead of on Highlights, and then given him an actual, like, good bass to work with to drop some heat. But it's just whatever. But then we get to the next track on here, I Love Kanye. And to literally every single... This goes out to every single YouTube commenter in the world. Every single fan out there that's like, man, I miss the old Kanye. I'm joking, dude. It was like... This is just such a genius, self-aware song about how he takes jabs at everyone else in the world, takes jabs on himself. This track is just really self-aware about Kanye's position on the internet. So that tells me that he's definitely reading his YouTube comments on the Vivo page. Like, the other day, I tried to go watch the music video for, I think it was Love Lockdown, which is from 808s. If you haven't checked that out, it's a fantastic video, fantastic song. And literally, half the comments on there are like, man, I miss when Kanye was like this. And it's like, this song is just fantastic. Even though it's just an acapella track and it's not that good musically, just the self-awareness on here is really fantastic. The only problem on here is that I wish that Kanye wasn't like I wish that it actually fit some sort of central theme. Like, it just seems like it's just randomly thrown on there, like little skit after little skit. Even though Freestyle 4 is not really a skit, but it's like a little interlude. So that just bothered me. Then we get to Waves, and like I mentioned, the bad tracks on here. We had Father Stretch My Hands Part 1, easily one of Kanye's worst tracks. Then Highlights outdid that one, and now we got Waves, which outdid this one. And I love Chance as much as the next guy, for music, of course. But we got Waves on here, and I don't know why this needed to be on the album. You're not calling the album Waves anymore, and it's like, this sounds like a Chris Brown tune that could have come out in 2010. Like, Chris Brown has a bunch of songs that sound like this, and even by that standard, it's not a particularly good one. This is another track where the mixing on here with a lot of the synths and Chris Brown's, not the synths, but what's the thing on the hook? Shit, I don't remember what it is. They're not synths. I guess it was the bass on there. No, because there's something else on top of the bass, I think. There's something more high pitched. I don't remember what it was. I have to go re-listen to it. But the part on the hook was, and Chris Brown's voice together was just like really muddy. Like you couldn't really hear either of them too clearly. Which even then, I really wouldn't want to hear Chris Brown's voice in this particular situation too well, because it's like you're kind of a scumbag of a person, Chris Brown. But the two things that you have over everyone else in the world is that you can sing nice and you can dance nice. Now we obviously don't see you dancing right here, but the singing on this track, and I don't know if it was just the mixing or if it was my fault with the version that I got or my headphones or something. But Chris Brown's voice sounded sharp as fuck on this track. Like, you make millions off of this dude and you can't sing in tune? Like, hello? Like, the part where it's like, waves don't die. And I know I can't sing, so fuck that, but when he's holding that die part, he literally sounds like a middle school singer trying to hold a tone. Trying to, like, hold a tone or a note for the first time ever. Like, his voice was just so sharp right there. It's just excruciating to listen to. Plus, everything else that we got on there, from the aesthetic of the song to what Kanye delivered, was not good at all. Like, I don't know why Chance thought this needed to be on the album. This was, at least at this point in time, it's the worst track that was on the album, but it gets better. Before it gets worse, though, it does get better. Fuck My Life with The Weeknd. Nice little track. I feel like this was what Kanye wanted on Yeezus. The super, like, moody, like, minimalistic type beat. Basically a less intoxicating and less distance feeling as far as, like, the minimal feel on 808s. But it's this real nice minimalistic feel. Kanye delivers a nice verse on here. The Weeknd delivers a nice little thing. There's a little thing at the end that sounds like a knockoff Kid A attempt. Didn't really like it. But the track overall was nice. And then after Waves, seeing that was cool. Then we get to Real Friends, like I said. This is definitely one of the better songs on the album. One of Kanye's better songs total. I already talked about it a little bit earlier, but look at my notes right here. So I put on here that is probably my best track, tied with Ultralight Beams. I throw I Love Kanye in there too, but at least from a musical perspective, I'm not going to throw I Love Kanye in there because I Love Kanye is good for other reasons. The mixing, I already talked about that. That was a lot more improved from the SoundCloud version. And it's went from just really amateur sounding mixing to probably one of the best mixed tracks on the album. Ty Dolla $ign dropped a nice feature. I think I already talked about him, but Ty Dolla $ign's a nice singer. I liked his album, even though it had a lot of bad tracks on there. It also had a lot of really good tracks. So shout out to Ty Dolla $ign, and hopefully his career trajectory keeps going up, because I think he's talented. And then we get to Wolves. Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, this is a bad track, not a bad-ass track. It's an ass track. Just when I thought I couldn't get any worse, like it couldn't get any worse from the version that we got previously, we get this version. This is awful. Like, as much as I hated the original Wolves, this is just awful. Like, the beat on here is awful. Kanye's first part is awful. Kanye's second part is even worse. It's like he took something, I don't know, a bunch of meds or some shit. He, like, with the comparing Kim Kardashian to the Virgin Mary, like, bro, we have 3 instances confirmed that we know, at least 3, 100% more of Kim Kardashian not being the Virgin Mary. At least. And obviously that's because, she got 2 kids by Kanye, and Kanye's trying to compare himself to God. Which is just like, oh my god, bro, shut the fuck up. You could call yourself a god if you want it to be in an inspirational sense, as in, I'm in control of my life and how it goes, but in this type of sense right here, it's just like, oh my god, no. I want to hear more about the bleached asshole shit instead of this shit. And then Frank Ocean, what the fuck, dude? Like, Frank Ocean been hiding in this nuclear bunker for the past 3 years. No one's ever heard of him. No one, not no one's ever heard of him. No one's heard a thing from him. And then I swear, like, they were on Skype or something. And then they're like sitting there on Skype, and Kanye's like, "Hey, yo, Frank, I got a new album coming out. I got this fantastic track, Wolves. But I don't know if the people are going to like it or not. So you know how I'm going to make people like it? I'm going to put you in the credits. You don't have to do anything. You just got to sing, like, 3 lines. And that's it." And Frank's like, "Alright, dude. You just got to close the blinds in the back because I haven't seen natural sunlight in about 3 years." And so he just sits there and he just does that. And it literally sounds like it's coming through a phone. Like, the mic that Frank sung into right there, or whatever editing they did with the audio, was so bad. And then they just slapped it on the end just for the sake of slapping it on there. And it's not even that the Frank thing was that good. It's like, Frank, just make your album. Like, I don't want to hear you on Wolves. That's by far the worst shit that I've heard from Frank Ocean. And literally, the only purpose of that serves is to make people be like, "Ooh, Frank Ocean's on there. Let me check out this track." Or, "Ooh, Frank Ocean's on there. I'm not going to listen to it. I'm just going to like it because Frank Ocean's on there." Like, that just pisses me off. Everything about that pisses me off. And that's the end of the main album. At this point, we have literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tracks out of 13. A lot of them are skits that aren't bad. 5 out of 13. And now, obviously, Lowlights is a skit. I counted I Love Kanye. Freestyle 4 is half a track. But 5 out of 13. Like, if he just released the main album, like, I don't even know if I would give this a 5 out of 10 or 50 out of 100, whatever you want to go by. I'll go by 100 because it lets me be more specific, but 10 is what Annie Fantani uses. And that's like the only dedicated music reviewer that I know. But it's just like, this was just so disappointing, the main album. But thankfully, the bonus tracks are here. And the bonus tracks actually saved the album quite a bit. So, Silver Surfer intermission. Why is this here? Your album's not called Waves. Your shit with Wiz is done. Why is this here? It makes no sense. I got no problem with Max B. I love Max B, dude. Shoutouts to the Wave, dude. I think, didn't he come out with a new project with French Montana or something? I don't know. But shout out to Max B, but it's like, why is this here? The only purpose why this is here is because you already recorded it because you wanted to make the album Waves. Then the album wasn't Waves, but you already recorded it. And it's like, well, shit, I'm just going to put as much random crap on here as I can because at this point, this is literally a mixtape that I'm packaging off as an album. And this is one of the problems that I had overall with this album, is that it was just really, like, lazily done. Like, from the mixing to the fact that this just seems like a bunch of tracks slapped together with no sort of direction, no sort of order, no sort of lack of order. Just, why is this here, dude? 30 Hours, I think I already talked about it, but it was a really nice sample. Started off really promising, and then, again, I just talked about how this was just really lazy. And it just seemed like, ooh, this is a nice little sample. Then he gets bored, and it's just like, well, let me just say a bunch of random shit, just for the sake of it. No More Parties in LA, already talked about this. Really nice track, ultra banger. Kanye drops easily one of his best verses of his career. And then Madlib beats definitely growing on me. The mixing, I think I already talked about that too, but the mixing's much improved. The Kendrick feature, a little disappointed that that's what we got. But supposedly this feature that was from Kendrick was from 2010. It actually wasn't like a modern day feature. It was just a verse that they were supposed to do together, and nothing really panned out. So he kind of just held on to the verse. And so I guess that explains why it's not quite up to the par that we've come to expect from Kendrick, whether it's from Good Kid, Mad City in 2012 to Pimp a Butterfly in 2015. And I can definitely say it's a nice verse, but it definitely sounds like just some old Kendrick shit. That's what I'm gonna go with. But it was still a real nice track, super banger. Facts. Now, when this track comes out, or came out rather, at the end of 2015, I forgot to mention that in the beginning because I didn't think it was going to be on the album. But it literally sounds like this is like, how do you meme product placement? This is a meme product placement attempt. That's what Facts was. And it's like, I'm not alright with it. Like, if you want to use your music to promote your product, that's fine, but the whole concept of dissing Nike and all that, to me, is just, it's kind of really self-absorbed. But I thought that the remix that they did over Jumpman, because you can be, like, when I heard Easy jumped over Jumpman, my first initial thought was, I didn't think that he was talking about the Jordans until, like, the song was at the end when I realized, well, shit, that's a product placement. I thought he meant Easy jumped over Jumpman because he did a remix of the Jumpman beat. And I thought that's what he meant. Easy jumped on Jumpman. And, you know, the Jumpman beat was nice. It was a nice little Jumpman beat. Or, wow, I'm mixing up my words. It was a nice little beat by Metro Boomin. And then the remix was nice. It was a little cute remix. It's whatever. And it makes the track mildly bearable just because the beat's catchy. But I feel like I'm the only person in the world that hates this remix more than the original version. Because over time, the original Facts version has kind of just grown on me. It's just whatever, you know. Whatever. It's not that bad. Well, it's bad, but it's like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like, the beat's alright, so you can kind of ignore what Kanye's saying, and it's kind of an earworm beat, too, same with the original Jumpman beat. But it's like, you take literally everything that's generic and a meme about bad trap music, like just the overbearing bass, the blaring horns. This dude's name is Charlie Heat. Like, come on, dude. Like, you take everything that's just really generic and just silly. This is the first word I could think of, silly, about bad trap music. You just slap it all on there and call it a remix. That's literally what I thought this was. Because it's like, now the beat's pissing me off. Kanye doesn't say anything new. Just the same old shit. And it's just like, alright, we got some positive momentum in the bonus tracks. And then you dropped Facts. And then we got Fade. I already talked about it. Funny enough, just to show the laziness that's gone on here, the first version that came out, the executive producer Mike Dean put the Facts remix twice instead of putting Fade at the end. That just shows how lazy this track is. Like I said, I'm just gonna look over my notes real quick. It's a nice little tune, nice little house sample. Kind of catchy. Like I said, it's in the same or the same domain as Facts. The original version has. Not really anything going on here lyrically, but it's a nice little earworm beat. And then I think what Ty Dolla $ign brings here is pretty catchy. I don't know why Post Malone is here. Like I said, I think this track came out at the Yeezy Season 2 when White Iverson was just popping, so you try and capitalize off that name, which I can respect, but like he literally says 2 words on here, like I don't know why he's here. And it's like, it's not even something that Post Malone could have dropped that's unique to him. Like, maybe you could have dropped some smooth-ass track, and then you could put Post Malone on there, and that would have been alright. Said his 2 words. But the part that Post Malone did, like, Kanye or Ty Dolla $ign could have easily done that. Like, you're in debt, dude, and I don't think a lot of people are gonna hop on a Kanye track just to see Post Malone. Like, he's not that big. Especially because you put the album like a year after White Iverson was big. So you don't even have that hype. It's like, you just wasted money on that feature. But shout out to Post Malone. He got to be a part of history. So those are the thoughts about the songs. I'm going to go into some individual thoughts. So let's start with the good before we get to the bad. This song has some of Kanye's strongest singles. Maybe not necessarily as far as single power, as far as singles selling. But I thought as far as the individual tracks were concerned, the individual tracks that were good were all really, really good. Um, as bad as the lines on this album got at times, they weren't as bad as Jesus. Like, just the song I'm In It alone has more just cringy, just what's wrong with your mental state Kanye lines than this entire album combined. Which, I guess is a good thing. The only, as a matter of fact, the only um, three parts that were that bad was the asshole line, the GoPro line, which I don't know if I talked about that or not on highlights, and then the entire second verse on Wolves. That was really it. Which, like I said, I'm In It pretty much covers that, and then the entire second half of Yeezus. I also thought that a lot of the features on here were really strong, which again also works into a bit of a bad element that I'm going to talk about a little bit. But I thought that Chance, pretty much everyone in Ultra Light Beams did a nice job. Even though it pisses me off that this designer dude sounds exactly like Future, I thought that his contributions weren't that bad. Really, I liked all the features on here except for Young Thug's feature. I didn't really dig too much, even though I feel like that had more to do with just the song itself rather than Young Thug doing anything bad. Post Malone, I just talked about. I don't know why he's here. And then Chris Brown on Waves. That was really it. Considering how many features this album has, it's actually not that bad. Also on features. First of all, I thought that Future was supposed to be on the album, so I don't know what happened to him. I know he co-wrote. I think he co-wrote. No, Drake co-wrote 30 Hours. I think Future co-wrote Freestyle 4, and then Father Stretch My Hands, either part 1 or part 2. I don't remember which. So they co-wrote some shit, but it's like you could have got those guys on the album instead of these other dudes. But what happened to Earl Sweatshirt? Like, wasn't he supposed to be on the album? Like, that would have been nice seeing Earl on here, but he wasn't. Wasn't Travis Scott supposed to be on the album too? Like, shout out to Travis Scott. I'm losing my voice because I've been talking for a quick minute. But wasn't Travis supposed to be on the album? Like I just said, shout out to him. I like Rodeo a lot, but I'm really losing my voice. So I don't know what happened to those two, but I thought they were supposed to be on the album, but I didn't hear them at all. So that's disappointing. But on to a lot of the negatives. Again, the singles were nice, but the bad songs were by far some of Kanye's worst songs. Like, when I first listened to Father Stretch Man's Part 1, I'm thinking this might be Kanye's worst song ever. And then it got outdone quickly by Highlights, by Waves, and then by Wolves. But the old version was really bad, and then this new version was even worse. Famous was kind of meh too, but it was just generic sounding. It wasn't just straight up awful. But that led to just a lack of central idea, and it's like, even if the central idea is just a lack of central idea, I don't really buy that. You can buy that if you want to, but I don't buy it. I just think that it's just Kanye being lazy. I think it's just, I haven't put out an album in a while. At this point in time, I still like making music, but I don't care enough about music enough because of all my other priorities in life to actually enjoy making the music. So I'm just gonna chill with some artists that I like. Chance contributed a lot creatively to this record. I think Ty Dolla $ign did too. As far like when you look through the credits, I haven't looked through all of them, and I kind of like skimmed it. But I'm just gonna chill with these guys, and then we're gonna make some songs, and then these few tracks here are nice. I'm gonna put them on my project. Like, it just literally felt like a lazy mixtape. Like, he just grabbed a bunch of tracks that he was working on. Some of these, like Freestyle 4, it was literally like half a track that was like, well, I got to put out an album at some point, so here's this track that's not finished. Let me just grab it, throw it on there anyway. Lowlights. This might be some sort of nice interlude if I had a central idea, but I don't have a central idea, but I already recorded the audio for it. Let me just throw it on there randomly. Next to Highlights. That kind of is cool. Lowlights to Highlights. even though those tracks actually don't have anything to do with each other. Let's throw that on there. It was just really lazily done. And that also goes back to the mixing. I already mentioned this a few times, but the mixing for the most part on here is just really spotty. Like, you're Kanye West, dude. Like, you can't make the mixing better, or you can't step in and say, you know what, Metro Boomin, you're a great engineer, but this particular track, you're just off on something. Or Mike Dean, you can't step in here like this. Like with everybody that was involved on the album, from a production standpoint, or people that could have been involved from a production standpoint, the mixing being this amateurish is just a disgrace. Like, this is a professional studio album. The mixing should not be this bad, let alone it's a Kanye studio album where the standard that he set for himself is up here. So we compare him to a higher standard. Not only that, but like I said, Metro Boomin had a lot of creative input in here, and he's a really nice engineer. So the mixing should not have been that bad. Other than that, I think that's really about it as far as the negatives. Just the mixing should not have been that bad, and then it just seemed really lazily done. And I think that's what the mixing goes back to. It's just this overall idea of this just being a lazy album, and an album that got put out for the sake of an album being put out, rather than just like an actual effort at Kanye trying to put together an album. But overall, I thought there was quite a few bad tracks on here, like I mentioned. I'm rating this with the bonus tracks. If the bonus tracks were not here, I don't think this album would get a 5 out of 10 from me. But because the bonus tracks were here, and they featured some nice tracks, combined with the good tracks that were on here, I'm going to give it a 58 out of 100. So basically a strong 5 if we're going by Andy Fantani ratings. And yeah, it's a good thing I did the album, like the review now and not a few days ago. Because a few days ago I was actually, like, I got kind of over the bad mixing and some other things. And I actually would have given it a light 8. Originally I gave it a strong 6, but now it's a strong 5. I'll leave my favorite tracks down in the description because I got to leave for class, but I'm going to say it right now. Ultralight Beams, Feedback, Real Friends, No More Parties in LA. Freestyle 4 could have been nice, but it was like half a track. Fuck My Life could have been nice. But that ending little Kid A skit at the end was really bad. And then least favorite, I already mentioned them. Part 1, Waves, Wolves, Highlights. I threw Famous on here in my notes. I don't really think Famous is that bad now, but I'll go ahead and say it anyway. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you want to see me do more vlog-ish videos like this. And later, guys.